Substitute teacher refused to believe I was a carpool rider. Some info before we get into the story itself. I'm also not sure if this is the best place to post this story, but I'm not sure where else to. This happened when I was in the first grade. I can't remember why we needed a sub that day, but she was there. One of the things my real teacher left behind was a list of bus riders and carpool kids. The paper she had the name on had columns. One for the bus, the other for car. In my class, we had so many car riders that my real teacher crossed out bus in the other column and wrote car above it, putting bus riders on a second sheet. At the end of the day, the substitute finally looked at these two papers. She read out the names as though we needed to be reminded. Except she said that the names 2 or 3, 4 at most on the crossed out column we in fact bus riders. Even though our parents picked us up no matter what. Other students said as much, but she wouldn't change her mind and made the 2 or 3 other students go where the buses were parked. I remember standing in front of the open door of a bus the teacher decided I was going to ride on. I tried to tell her about my mom. She never liked me riding home on a bus. The sub wouldn't listen though. She practically dragged me onto the bus and had me sit behind the driver. She left and one of the students who normally rode that bus asked if I was supposed to be there. I of course said no. And we tried to figure out what to do. Suddenly, one of the PE coaches they monitored the carpool kids walked onto the bus and said to come with her to the cafeteria, where the carpool kids always got picked up. I gladly took her hand and got off. I waited for my mom and the coach told my mom what happened when she got there. I don't know what happened after this, but I never saw that sub again. I don't know if she's still teaching, not allowed back at that school anymore, or what. I'm just glad I was able to get off the bus before the driver pulled away. Who knows what would have happened? In the 60s I lived about 8 blocks from my elementary school. A small group of us walked together. And we had a crossing guard for a major street. A few days after 2nd grade started, my teacher yelled at me for forgetting to bring a pencil. She sent me home to get one. I stood on the street corner of the busy street not knowing what to do. Eventually my mother drove by and happened to see me there. She drove me back to school and yelled at the teacher in front of the class. Then marched into the office and yelled at the principal. She told me about it several years later. That teacher was mean to me the entire year. Added later, the crossing guard had left by the time I came back. Thankfully, these days it is against the rules for teachers to require students to bring pencils. My science teacher once forgot and was questioned. My science teacher probably didn't yell or anything, she just said that kids needed pencils or something for the assignment. Now, students are able to just borrow a pencil from the classroom. Had a similar substitute teacher in 1st grade 94 to 95. My real teacher developed bad cancer and went into treatment for more than half the year and we were stuck with Miss Slick as our sub. I lived 5 blocks away. Legit was a straight walk down the sidewalk to my house and I would either walk to school with one of my parents and they would be there waiting for me near the walker's door. Well, Miss Slick decided that the 5 blocks was too far. Not sure how she even knew where I lived, but she refused to let me leave unless my parents came into the school to get me. This left my mom freaking out one day that I either walked past her or someone stole me, and she went flying into the school's office and demanded to speak to someone. They sent the school's security guard down to the classroom to check if I was still there, and he found me crying at my desk with Miss Slick yelling at me. I don't remember what he said, but he yelled at her and said she had to follow him to the office, but he was super nice to me. When I got to the office and saw my mom, I stopped crying, but remember her screaming at the sub, telling her she was not in charge of how I got home, and then went into the principal's office with the sub to talk behind the door. I was left with the cool lady who worked the admin department, and she let me play with the stuff in the lost and found till my mom came out and we went home. Miss Slick was gone the following day. We had some new younger sub for the rest of the time. Miss Slick never showed back up at that school, but I did see her about 10 years later subbing in the high school I was at, but did not try and contact her. I can tell you what would have happened. It depends on the year and what technology was available. If there were no radios or cell phones, what would have happened is either the bus driver would ask where you live and drop you off at home, or would figure out that you weren't supposed to be on his bus and would return you to the school where your mom would be waiting with a group of worried and irate parents. If there were radios/cell phones available, all of the buses with car rider kids would be asked to return to school, where the group of worried and irate parents would be waiting with some faculty members in the parking lot to grab their kids the moment they stepped off the bus. In the first scenario, it would take a while for your mom to find out that you were already home, but they would eventually figure it out and she would first race home to be with you. In my case, first day of 1st grade, I got put on the bus incorrectly. Rode through all the stops. Didn't know where our apartment was, just moved there a week before. Then got taken to the high school. More kids got on. Went through all of their stops. Finally 2 hours later the guy went to the depot to drop the bus off. The office lady flipped out frantically trying to figure out which school I was from, and they drove me back. My mom was pissed. Didn't ride the bus there again, and a week later went to a different school out by my grandparents' house. No idea what happened to the bus driver. This would have been 1986 7th in Russell, Kentucky. We lived in Flatwoods though. If you aren't supposed to be on the bus driver won't be able to drop you off at the right stop because who knows what route they take and if they all take the same route. I've had issues like that in elementary school when I used to take a school bus home until our school got rid of our buses. I was told one time that this specific bus was going the same way my usual bus went, and it went a completely different way, which ended up with me having to get off at a stop that was nowhere near my house and figure out which way I needed to go to get home. My mom wasn't happy when I showed up at home way later than usual, but once I told her what happened she understood and made sure I took the right bus from then on. Trainee is now telling housekeeping and guess her life story in the lobby. She's sitting in the lobby on the couch talking about the huge custody battle her parents had over her as a child and how evil her mother is and how awful her everyday home life is and how great her dad is. She's been going on for the past 20 minutes. The guest group of 4 old ladies look like they feel sorry for her and are telling her she needs to find a way to escape and the way they treat her is not right, etc. Housekeeping girl keeps side-eyeing me and I think we are both thinking the same thing. Complete bullspeep. I'll make more updates on this post if she does something else. It's 7:49 p.m. and I still have 3 more hours to go. Who knows what she will do? She was already playing in the elevators and making TikToks. Made a mess in the lobby bathroom and stuck a used bloody pad on the handicap stall door and there's toilet paper all over the floor. Made a mess at the coffee station. Tried to tell me how horrible her period was and tried to get me to DoorDash her dinner again. It's a slow night, we only have 3 more check-ins. Suggestion. Make a log with her activities. Take a pic to go with each entry. If asked about her progress, show them the log. There will come a time when management's patience is over. My Reddit posts are also documentation so I don't forget anything, but I have wrote up formal complaints against her and left it on management's desk several times. She's currently walking around the lobby barefoot. On her phone. Drinking a Red Bull. Burping really loudly and laughing. She's wearing a t-shirt she found in the housekeeping room. Or lost and found. Not sure which. She threw her uniform shirt in the toilet. No, I am not kidding. Same stall with the bloody pad. She did not bring the t-shirt she is wearing in and we have no idea who it belongs to. She was supposed to restock our front desk area and decided to send elevators to different floors again and then leave a bag of shampoo bottles in the elevator and stomped on a few of them. She told me to go beep myself and do it myself. When I asked her to go do that but went and kinda did it anyways. She has not answered the phone or checked anybody in yet. She also got a guest, an old lady, to order her Burger King and is waiting for that to arrive and then called me a selfish bitch for not ordering her food. She told me she plans on not showing up on Friday because she came into work yesterday on her day off. She chose to do that. Nobody told her to, which really peeps me over because I will have 86 check-ins as of now and probably more by myself, and she was supposed to be trained by then. She doesn't want to deal with all those people because it's too much for her and she doesn't care if she's on the schedule, she's not showing up and nobody can make her. Her words. God, there are so many things and nuances I want to share, but there's always a dark side too. If she doesn't show up tomorrow night, don't put pressure on yourself to break your back trying to get them all checked in a timely manner. Hell, do the same if she does show up. Don't pick up her slack or her destructive actions. Take pictures but say nothing to management. If management asks you anything about trainee, share the facts and the pics but don't embellish and don't offer your opinion. Just the facts. Ma'am. Just the facts. If I were you, I'd demand management schedule me with someone else because working with that person is no longer feasible or safe due to her complaints about you and your complaints about her lack of professionalism being disregarded. I'd also look into reporting the issue to someone higher up the chain since work conditions are becoming hostile if possible, or at least look into covering your ass and knowing your rights in regards to the situation. I feel like you're possibly being set up for something worse down the line. It's really odd that her constant lousy behaviors are not addressed at all. Entitled Mom Wants Money from a Charity. For a little backstory, my family is really into Halloween. AMD always had been, and I had the idea in 2019 to build a haunted house in our backyard, and it went well, and this year we decided to build it again, bigger and better. 2020 couldn't run because of COVID, and it's free to enter. We take donations at the front for a charity of choice each year and donate half the proceeds. My family and I, 21-year-old, put our own money into the construction, and it takes a month, so very hard work and decent amount of money. I love making others happy and helping out the community I live in, and that's the main reason we do it. We most definitely don't make a profit of this. This year's charity is for my neighbor's kids' charity, that is autism and epilepsy at age 6. Anyways, to the story. Saturday was the big day over the weekend, and my team of actors and I were so excited, and we had a very successful night. Over 500 people entered and $460 raised. Big increase from 200 people first year, but as the night was ending, a mom and her 2 kids came to THR front, and this is how she started the conversation to my girlfriend at entrance. "EP, are you guys seriously charging for this? I have 2 little kids, they should be free." GF: "No ma'am, it's free as the sign says, but we are taking donations for a local neighbor's charity." EP: "Okay, but what is the charity and who is it for?" GF explains charity and shows handout on charity for the little boy. EP: "Why does he need the money?" "There are people who can't afford basic needs like food and water. I live paycheck to paycheck, and this money would benefit my family more than this boy. You could give the money to my family and be happy knowing you helped a family, and anyways the money you raise probably won't be that significant in helping the boy." GF: "I'm sorry you feel this way. I'm sorry about your situation, but this boy suffers from over 50 seizures a day, and this money will go towards his medication and treatment. But enjoy the haunted house." EP got in line and was rolling her eyes and huffing and puffing. Girlfriend told me on radio as she was in line, and I chased her out of haunted house down the path with chainsaw. He kids really love the haunted house though. Explained to her that she can look up how to become a legitimate charity, and maybe someone will hold a fundraiser for her. The paperwork is daunting, to say the least. Girlfriend told me on radio as she was in line, and I chased her out of haunted house down the path with a chainsaw. The perfect way to deal with any crappy person. Award goes to this line. "If I lived near you, I would happily bring my 12-yo. We'd gladly donate and even see if we could help out by finding a few charity organizations to help out. This is a wonderful idea. You guys are amazing for doing what you did. Please keep it up. I'm sure if you open a social media, you could get more donations. I'm glad you gave the EP a good scare. Living paycheck to paycheck is no excuse to be an entitled We live paycheck to paycheck in a one-income household, and I would have been more entitled." Mother defends her daughter trying to steal my bike. For context, I am 19-year male living in Poland. It was end of September. Friday afternoon. After finishing annoying and long day at school, I stopped at chain store right next to my technical school. Locked my bike to bike stand. Went in. Bought candy bar and energy drink and went out. I stood next to the entrance to drink and smoke a cig. When I was almost done with my cig and drink, I saw girl about 12-yo fiddling with bike lock. I said, "Can you not touch what doesn't belong to you?" She immediately got offended and bursted into tears and ran to hide behind her mother, who was just few steps from her. After I was done with cig, I went to unlock my bike from stand and heard, "You should apologize to my daughter." After hearing that, I just hopped on my bike and drove off, flipping off entitled mother, and as I was driving off, I heard her yelling something else. But I just wanted to go home and end that speepty day. 12 is old enough to know not to touch other people's property. Assuming the 12-year-old has actually been taught this. And will probably expect the cops to apologize for arresting her precious baby for theft in the future. Followed by the judge apologizing for sending her to prison. Reading something from a European genius is kinda satisfying. If you were from America, you would have escalated it. I don't get it. How was she trying to steal your bike? Kids are curious. When I was a kid, locks were puzzling. I'm not saying you are wrong to tell a kid not to mess with what is not theirs, or the mother's response of not reaffirmation, but this lacks context. Did the kid, age range unknown, show any interest in the bike? Was the mother watching and saw but did not stop the action? Assuming this kid is below the age of 9 who wouldn't seek familiar ground when upset. I'm not a parent, but I was a kid. Oddly enough, I still don't like them unless I have to, because they are nieces and nephews. Godchildren. Sounds like you had a bad day, bud, and mom